You're listening to If You Know You Grow the podcast. I'm your host, Chantel Braley, and I have over 15 years experience in marketing, e-commerce, and really all things creative. I'm so excited to take you behind the scenes of thriving businesses, hear from amazing industry experts, and chat a little bit about the mindset that it takes to really succeed in this industry. Please follow, like, and subscribe so that I can continue creating amazing content for you and sharing these incredible stories. Let's get into it. All right, everybody. Welcome to yet another week. We're so close to wrapping the season. I know I spoke about that on the last episode, but it's crazy to think that we are like 6 weeks away, 7 weeks away from the first birthday of this podcast and a couple weeks away from wrapping the season. And I think this has been such a big evolutionary period for me as an individual. And I've had so much change. And to be honest with you, I'm feeling a little bit tired right now, but I'm happy. And when people ask me, like, what are your goals? I'm actually at the point where I know these tangible things that I want to do, but my ultimate goal at the moment is just to be happy. And I'm there. So what a great thing. In terms of stuff that's been happening lately, the Pink Elephant Support Network and Sunday's collection or collaboration has actually launched. And even though I can't say the amount of money that is being donated as of yet, it has been so cool to see two incredible companies that are run by incredible women actually work together to do something that's bigger than their initial message. And it's so interesting because you're like, well, what would a fashion brand be able to do to offer a charity other than money? It's actually creating a physical view of what community looks like. And the DMs that I have received and the support that I have received, I'm floored. And what the brand has received, I can only imagine. Like, I don't have access to the Pink Elephant Support Network DMs, but I can only imagine how empowering this is for everybody in the community, because the concept of miscarriage, and I do have an episode last season with Sam Payne from Pink Elephant Support Network, but miscarriage is something that you generally suffer in silence about. And it is something that people take in a multitude of ways. I don't think there's ever one standardized way to have or to feel grief. And to see women who have been directly impacted and indirectly impacted band together has been amazing. And from a friendship side, my group chat was going off with the day that everything came in, people doing little hauls, wearing their jumpers. And then from a like partnerships technology work side, like having vendors that I work with and that I don't actually work with also support the cause was so cool to see. It really showed that something that is not loudly and outwardly like a charity initiative has been able to bring people together. And next week we celebrate 10 years of the Pink Elephant Support Network. And we've got a beautiful fancy gala, which, you know, to bring joy to such a sad portion of your life is very exciting, but it's about celebrating 10 years of being able to drive change and drive impact for women across Australia. So all really exciting things. Anyways, earlier in the week, I actually posted something about Off Campus. If you haven't watched Off Campus, please watch Off Campus, especially if you're a woman. Like there's no way that you're not going to enjoy this. And if you don't enjoy it, then like maybe figure out why you're not enjoying it, because I feel there's something deeper that we must unpack there. But Off Campus is based on a series of books, and effectively it is the hockey jock hot boys and the theater music girls and kind of the collaboration of their worlds. But I posted something where I'm like, brands, you are missing an opportunity if you're not jumping on this trend. And it's because in marketing, there is the fact that obviously you have your brand. And if you are a brand that has a Gen Z or millennial woman, it's very likely that this is incredibly relevant to them. But all of our social channels are now entertainment platforms. And the fact that we ignore that as marketers often means that we are not providing the full, I don't want to say like service, but like the full experience for the people who are watching us, because people are on these platforms to be entertained. TikTok competes with Netflix. I know that I've said that multiple times, but it is something that is very well and truly happening. And why would you not want to jump on board and see how you can find ties between really like a pop culture moment? Every single channel is currently being taken over by off campus, which means it is trending in algorithms. And I'm sure that everybody has noticed in the last couple months, Instagram's algorithm has really changed. It has become stronger. Instagram has gone through the whole, do you go based on the time that something was post? Like, do you do trial reels? Do you do all these things? And I never really share openly my social media takeaways or my social media strategies because I don't have interest in having this like huge social media following. So I don't actually put a lot of effort into my socials. It's something that I need to do, but it's something that I don't really do. And I think that's just because it gets deprioritized across every other fucking thing that exists in my life. But I just shared this little takeaway of like, you should jump into this because really then you get to sit at the intersection of social media and pop culture and product and pop culture and really like jump into this like really relevant moment. One, it was so cool seeing so many brands that I work with and people that I guess, I don't want to say like are inspired by me, but I guess it's the thing, right? That are inspired by me actually jump in and do this trend, but also to see people's posts go viral and have incredible reach much bigger than their account. And one of those people, like not only did she receive 70,000 views within a 12-hour period, which that is really not something that her account would normally see, even though her account's amazing. Like she's got a smaller account, so that was insane. But she also then went and has been now featured in The Independent because of her view on things. And I loved that because she was able to not only take this pop culture moment, but make it really digestible and really start to analyze like, why are we so obsessed with this? And look, the reason we're really obsessed with it is because as women, it is something that is currently missing from men. So like men, if you're not interested, to the whole, 3.5% of you that listen to this each week, which I think like 1% of you maybe are straight, jump on board and watch it. Because if you're like, oh, what do women want? Women want exactly what is in the Amazon Prime show. Like, absolutely nailed it. And yes, it's a man written by a woman, so that makes so much sense. But people aren't obsessed with this just because they're hot and like they're quite attractive. And I'm so glad that the lead actor is 28 because I don't feel weird in saying that he's hot because in my view, that age range is totally acceptable for me. But it's so cool to see a show where you're not clinging onto the view of a toxic relationship. Like we grew up in the era, or I grew up in the era of The Notebook. And I used to think that's what love looked like. And you wanted the high intensity and the arguments and like the person that like was obsessed with you more than everything. And like, yes, I want the end scene of The Notebook. I want that little bit of the scene where it's like, the old man that like reads the book to her because they want to fall in love again each day and it's beautiful. But do I want like the years that it takes to kind of get there? And like, is it a little bit of a toxic bond? I'm not too sure, but that's what we grew up with. So knowing that this is the standard of like a man that is arrogant. And I did a little TikTok where I'm like, I would have never liked this man before, but I do now. And it's because one of my best friend's husbands, like, he's a bit cocky, he's a bit arrogant, but he's the best husband and dad. And he's also a little bit delusional. And I think that is what makes this man continuously go from strength to strength is because he's probably like actually as delusional as me, which is why I keep going from strength to strength with the things that I do. But it's okay for someone like being a little bit arrogant is actually a bit hot. Like be confident, know that you are good at something and have BDE because I have to have BDE so much that there are points in my life where I don't want BDE. I want to be the passenger princess. And I know that like we've talked about this briefly on the podcast before, but that is why women are obsessed with this. Because not only is this man able to be like strong and hot and sexy and cocky, but he is actually like quite able to be emotionally aware and vulnerable. And that's also really hot. Like, tell me what I should be doing, but then also open up to me about where you have flaws. Look, it's probably an unrealistic expectation, but that is currently why I think everybody's obsessed. So to like navigate away from off campus, because yes, it's currently a hyperfixation and I'm obsessed with it. Should your brand be leaning into pop culture trends? And is that something that feels on brand? You're the only person that's going to know whether or not that's relevant. When I think about my individual pillars, and I've never really spoken about like what my brand pillars are, but one of my brand pillars, it's not the concept of being relevant, but it is that I have my finger on the pulse to an extent. So I can jump into any pop culture trend. And I am somebody who I always want to know, not necessarily like what's overhyped, but I need to know what's trending and what's relevant, because there is such a thing as a trend adoption cycle or a trend adoption. It's kind of like this like little linear graph thing. And, there are the early adopters, and everyone thinks that they want to be the first person to a trend. You don't actually want to be the first person to a trend, especially if you are somebody who is monetizing what you do. Being the first person to the trend is the highest risk, and it actually doesn't have the biggest reward. Because what happens is you are so high on that trend that people jump on, and you've got the small amount. You then have like the not trendsetters, but slightly more early adopters and the mainstream adopters. That's actually where you want to sit. So it isn't about being early. It's about right place, right time, and really nailing your strategy with relevance. So if you're a brand that's like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do, and I don't know if this makes sense, when you think about a pop culture moment like off campus, it doesn't matter if you are a brand that is for girls. It doesn't matter if you are a brand that talks really heavily on sport, or a brand that maybe kind of feeds into like the theater nerds, or I think there's like the really obvious ones where you're a brand that maybe sells something that's aligned to like book talk in that world. But using trending sounds, using trending captions. Like I was served something on my feed where it was like this quite attractive man that basically said like, the only person who's not talking about off campus this week. That was done with intention and purpose, because he's trying to look cool because he's not talking about off campus, but he made sure that he used in his caption something that was going to then pop into the algorithm of a bunch of women while he had his carousel of thirst traps. So much intention behind what he was doing. So when you are thinking about the concept of pop culture and your brand and the intersection of pop culture with your brand, you should be doing things like using trending sounds. Trending sounds push you out. You should be doing things like having native text overlays that then like optimize your search engine optimization inside of the social media platform, so that when people are searching for things, you actually pop up. You should post content that is engaging, that is shareable. So when I think about Fee, and Fee was the person who kind of went a bit viral, where things went viral is because she was able to break down on a tangible level the psychology behind why women are obsessed with this show. And do you know what happened? We found it relatable, and we wanted to share it with our girlfriends. That would have been shared in an obscene amount of girls' group chats, because part of what social media does is it actually enables people to relate, feel like they're a part of a community, and feel seen. And if we forget that, then we're not actually creating a social media channel with purpose. And there's definitely some issues that people have with social media. Like I'm really big about now when like I meet somebody new, I'm like, add me on Instagram. Why? Not because I necessarily want the follower, but because like Instagram and social media is effectively a part of my brand, and it's lead generation. It's a part of my business. So it's something where I am going to be active on the channel, because it is a way for me to continue to build my community. It's a way for me to inspire people. Like the fact that there were so many people that jumped on the trend, and then people that sent me their content after they had done the trend, I was kind of floored. I think I forget, like I know I do this with the intention of inspiring people because I love what I do, but to actually see it in action, I'm like, oh, stop it. Even Mel from Maternal Vitamins, and I don't know whether or not it was Mel or whether it was Kim, and it was like such a niche thing of like taking your magnesium after watching episode 5 again. If you know what happened in episode 5, like one, you would watch it again, but also like, a little bit, a little bit spicy. So seeing this come through and seeing this correlate, and then seeing everybody's post perform, like these were low impact, low effort ways to create a conversation where people engage with your brand outside of selling your product. The worst thing you can do is just sell your product 24/7. Nobody wants to be sold to. Everybody wants to exist in a brand world. Yes, there are certain things like call to actions and education. All of those things need to be woven in. But if you're constantly selling to an audience, you are constantly going to kind of like support your own lack of engagement, or, you know, you're kind of just banking on the fact that like having a hot product or being aesthetic or any of those things are actually going to get you very far. You need to create a brand world that has a very specific tone, that has, I don't even know what to call it. Like, you need to, your socials need to be operating as though you're a human. Like, even if you're a brand, you're a human. Like, you are a person, and this person is speaking to a particular group of people, and what type of content does that person want to see? When I started seeing the really cool it girls using like the yellow overlays across things, and having like a sassy little comment about like, hate to break it to the girls, but I'm going to ask for pics, or like whatever it was. The fact that these really cool, really hot girls were adding in humor, one, it made them so likable. And the girls that I'm talking about like are actually really likable. I adore them as human beings. They're so funny. They're so smart. They're so intelligent. But they started to be really strategic about allowing personality into their feed, because they know that this is going to drive engagement. Because what do you want? You want something to be consumable. You want it to be shareable. Likes are great. There are no issues with likes. Comments, awesome. But if you are not entertaining, then you're literally going to be hurting your own engagement. And that's like the current reality of the world that we live in. There are some things that like I'd love to see from kind of brands moving forward, and things that, I say I'm going to implement them, but I think this kind of comes down to like my personal social channels are the absolute last thing that I consider in my week of strategy. And what a privilege that Natalie and I are so busy that like during our weekly business whips, we're like, what are we doing in personal brand? And like stuff always gets pushed back. Like, that is such a privilege to be in that situation. But, this is something where I'm like, I hope that I can start actually practicing what I'm preaching, because seeing the fact that people are implementing what I'm saying and seeing this huge increase from it, like, that's so fucking cool. Like, I'm literally obsessed with this. Look, this week is just a little shorter mini teaser kind of baby episode. And I think that's really a symptom of the fact that we are in end of financial year as well. So maybe a couple of things that I'll just kind of wrap up with are just some end of financial year tips, because I wanted to do this like big breakdown of an episode, but I'm sure everybody's feeling a little bit flat and we're midway through the month of June. So the one thing that I'm going to say, and your hot tip for end of financial year, the first thing is going to be increase your frequency. Make sure that you increase your frequency, because really it's just about how much organic reach can you get during this period. And the quickest way to increase your reach is to increase your frequency. Gone are the days of Instagram wanting just 2 or 3 posts a week. Like, it wants to be fed. TikTok wants to be fed. And it's because people are consuming more content than ever before. So if you can produce more, and understand that the worst engaged content is going to be the content that is straightforward, talking about your sale offer. So if you can be creative, be creative. Muscle Nation, I don't know if anyone has seen their post, but please go. I think they're like sale. I feel like it like launches next week. So they've even launched their hype a little bit early, but it is a fucking fire post. Like, one of their team members is pregnant and she looks like she's going to go into labor, and then like her water breaks and everybody's freaking out, and it's very cinematic and it's in slow motion. And then like she gives birth to this 40% off for 4 hours. Like, would have been so much fun to film. Definitely has some production value, unhinged. But again, it is entertaining and it's shareable. It is absolutely wild, like super, super, super fucking impressive. And that was great engaging sale content, because the standard sale content is going to engage really poorly. But then on the flip side, your paid content for sale is going to absolutely go off and have the highest ROAS, because all it is, people want the straight to the point. But how are you going to make your organic channels actually message what you are currently doing? For your email flows, whether this is you like completely pausing your current flows, which is what I would actually recommend because it's easier, and setting up new flows and having full price and sale flows and just having them there. Make sure that all your flows direct to your offer with a sense of urgency. You need to change the flows. If not, people don't understand your offer. And if they don't understand your offer, then all these automations, all these little things that should be making you money while you sleep don't exist. And therefore you're leaving money on the table. So I know that we focus so hard on paid. And at this point, like, if your paid isn't performing, it's probably not really going to perform during end of financial year. You need to look through your entire strategy, and you maybe need to question your agency on that. But look at your flows, look at your organic, because what are those two lower effort, higher reward things that you can quickly fix and will hopefully help you to improve everything overall. Well, that is that for us for this week. I highly recommend you binge watch Off Campus if you haven't already and partake in some end of financial year sales. I feel like I have the shoppies at the moment. So if there is anything that you're like, oh, you should buy this, please let me know. I feel like fashion has been really, really flat recently, and my biggest expense has been my hair, which probably doesn't really surprise anybody. But I'd love to know, because all I'm doing for end of financial year is like buying some new office equipment, which like I am really excited about a new camera. We'll see. But that's pretty much it. All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, we're kind of near the end of the season. So like if this resonates with you, or if there's an episode you loved, the best way you can support me is through sharing the podcast. And that is something that, helps expand my reach, and reach is what helps me be able to make this grow. Have an amazing week, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Bye.